Welcome to Take Your Power Back, an online summit where my experts will be showing you how to break free from the bondage of food and stop sabotaging your health so that you can start living the life that you are meant to live. And today we have a special guest, Talya Lutzker. And Talya found her passion and purpose in Ayurvedic medicine when she turned it for her own healing in 2001. And since then, she has authored 3 cookbooks, founded the Ayurvedic Cleanse Experience program, taught yoga to thousands of students, and opened doors to her year-long Ayurvedic self-care program for women, Nourishment School. Talya helps spiritual accomplished women who burn the candle at both ends reclaim their health and radiance. And Talya's also a personal dear friend of mine. So I am so excited to welcome you to the summit, Talya.
Thank you, Kristin. It's an honor to be a part of this.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about you, your journey, what you do, and how you came to do it.
Okay, so hi everybody. Take your power back. Yeah. I do kind of feel like that's a huge part of my journey is, where the way that I grew up. This has been on my mind a lot. My dad was just very overbearing. What a wonderful, wonderful man. I was totally in love with him, but he was very angry and abusive and verbally abusive. And at some point, even in my Ayurvedic journey, my teacher and I realized that my tailbone was like curled under, the way a dog like tucks its tail with legs.
Yeah.
So we were like working on untucking my tailbone for a long time, just the very tip of it. And growing up in an environment like that, and I'm already I don't love competition. I shy away from stuff like that, generally speaking, even though I have ambition. But I definitely resonate with that. I gave my power away all the time to my dad, to my mom, to my sister, to my teachers, to my friends, to my boyfriends, to, my therapist, to anybody.
Yeah.
Really. And it just took so long to understand that I even had access to power and that was a birthright to be powerful. And when I did start to realize that I had power, it was like, whoa, like now how do I wield it responsibly?
Yes.
Instead of just, pushing or dynamiting my way through some situation. And I'm still learning. It's a total, for me, it's a lifelong learning process. But when I found Ayurvedic medicine, by that time, I was in my late 20s. And by that time, I'd had a very severe eating disorder for many years in my early 20s. And, I kind of think I still thought of myself as being in recovery from that for sure.
Yeah.
I guess in many ways I still am. Probably everybody is who's, had an eating disorder that's severe. But it does not rule me anymore. Like, no way, which is so wonderful. But by my late 20s, I had developed pretty bad case of psoriasis, which is an autoimmune disorder. And I was actually at my yoga teacher training, meditating and doing yoga, and so excited about stepping into this new career path. And I broke out in psoriasis all over my body at that retreat. I was like, what is going on? So I, at that point, also knew what Western medicine had to offer for psoriasis, which is basically steroid-based cream.
Right.
And kind of a general, we don't know what causes autoimmune. So I went out to seek holistic healthcare on purpose. And I tried many practitioners, many modalities. And when I landed on Ayurveda, I felt seen. I felt understood. I understood how to use it. Like it made sense to me because it's pretty
Right.
common sense. And I'm going to share that with all of you today, all the listeners today.
Yeah.
But it just was like, oh, this makes sense. So one of the first things that one of my first practices was to start cooking my own food. And that was by choice, and also now it's so easy. It's much easier now than it was however long ago that was, 16 years ago,
Right.
to get ready-made health food. So you don't have to know how to cook your own food to practice Ayurveda, and you certainly need to know how to make complex meals. But if you just are open to learning like the most simple food care, food prep, you can just make such incredible meals that make you feel so good and satisfied. So that was my thing.
Wow.
And that's kind of how the cookbooks evolved, and how food and nutrition really became my main modality of teaching Ayurveda, even though I also do body work and, all different everything Ayurveda I do. But the food and nutrition was definitely emerged first because it was so core to my own healing. And within 6 months of practicing Ayurveda, I had 85% of my skin cleared up. So, which is phenomenal.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. And then the other 15% is the emotional, the deep emotional work.
Right.
Even I could reverse that. 15% is really the food and 85% is really but the food helped me to be strong and grounded and to be in my power, like to be empowered. And so it was much more, the emotional pieces became more accessible to me.
Exactly. I totally get that. It was very similar for me too, where I started to get some of the food underway. And then it was like, okay, well, now you actually have some resources to be able to go deeper instead of when the food is just running you and you you can't do anything, basically.
Yeah, totally. I mean, when you're in the throes of that addiction,
Yeah.
that's what is on your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
So much shame, which is a big piece of what we're all, when you want to take your power back, that means you are, touching your shame and not making it wrong, but having compassion for it and being like, and I learned that, and now I get to unlearn that.
Mm. Absolutely. And I'm so excited because you're the only person on the summit that's speaking to Ayurveda.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so excited to learn a bit more. I know like a little bit, and I think our viewers, they've probably like heard of it and maybe they know a little bit, but you're gonna really sort of put on that lens for us and help us see through Ayurveda what's going on when we're having these different issues with food, whether it's like obsessive thoughts or cravings or what's going on for different types of people. So just tell us a little bit about that, and I'd love to learn
Okay.
all the different types. Yeah.
Okay. So you know how I said Ayurveda is common sense, right?
Yes.
So it's an elemental science. It's based in its own version of the five elements, which are ether, air, fire, water, earth. Okay, so the premise is that everything alive is comprised of those five elements, but in different ratios and different constitutional strengths. So, for example, to take it off of humans just for a second, when I look at a piece of popcorn versus a tomato versus a banana, it's all food, but they all have very different constitutional predominant strengths. Popcorn is light and dry. There's almost nothing to it.
Right.
Even calorically, it's like really light.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that. Then a tomato is like sweet and juicy and acidic. So it has like some fire behind it and some sugar behind it too, which is also acidic. A banana is like thick and dense and cool. So, right, do you see those are elementally, they're different.
Yeah.
And, you know, you and I, even though we have some similarities elementally in our predominance, you have more fire, I have more earth and water. That's the main difference between you and I, just because I know us well. But
Yeah.
if, you know, well, backing up, hot, cold, wet, dry, light, heavy. If I look at like my personal body, my symptoms, what I tend towards, this is how I start to identify where I land in that constitutional predominance. And what I call this is, what's your Ayurvedic blueprint?
Cool.
What's your elemental Ayurvedic blueprint? So if you know that you tend to be really cold, like I know, Kristin, you and I are friends, you're always, you know, you and I both tend to be cold, and we always have jackets and layers.
Yeah.
You'll never see us anywhere. It's funny that we're both wearing tank tops today.
I know. What is this?
Cool. But public speaking, you know, makes you more warm.
Yeah.
But we always have jackets because we tend to be cold.
Right.
And other ways that we might see that cold nature is like we don't feel thirsty.
Right.
You know, cold constricts. So you might be thirsty, but you might not feel thirsty. You'd have to have like some other symptom, like you're, oh my gosh, my pee is so yellow. Like, oops, I haven't been drinking enough water.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
When you're really hot, you know, you're hot at night, you get anger, you anger easily, maybe resentment or jealousy is an issue. Competition is really in your space. You might get rashes, you know, really like consistently, or just be really sweaty and oily and just kind of like, yeah, I run hot. And I'm like, oh, you know, so that's how you identify if heat is one of your core elements. Everyone is all five, by the way: ether, air, fire, water, earth. But literally when we do an Ayurvedic assessment with somebody, it's like, you're definitely going to have a predominance of one of these five elements or two of these five elements. I'll say a little bit more about that in just a moment. And you're going to probably have a secondary constitution. So, you know, and it can be anything. And someone can also be what's called tridoshic, where this person just kind of equal all the way around, equal parts ether, air, fire, water, earth. But back to the hot, cold, wet, dry way of thinking about it, because it just simplifies it, and we're outside of the traditional Ayurvedic terms this way. Like everyone can be like, am I hot or am I cold?
Right.
Some people are going to be like, I'm both. I fluctuate. And my question to them would be like, oh, so do you also see that emotionally? Are you hot and cold emotionally? And a lot of times their answer is yes. Like, yeah, I really turn on and off, like triggers, like I can close down, that's cold, or I can really move forward and that's hot. Wet and dry are another couple opposites. Wet is when you tend towards a lot of congestion, or when, you know, you carry extra weight on your bones pretty easily. It might be a little bit harder to lose the water, you know, so you're wet, you're mucusy, you're heavier, you're dense. And then dry is, you know, where you're really thirsty, you have cracking joints, dry skin, dry hair, brittle nails, dry sense of humor.
That's fun.
You know, it translates into the emotional realm too.
Totally.
So we take these different ideas in my hot, cold, wet, dry. I add light and heavy. Light usually goes with cold and dry. Heavy usually goes with wet. Sometimes it goes with hot too. It's common that it goes with hot. Only because in Ayurveda, fire goes with water. So for those of you who are familiar with Ayurveda, or are like, aren't there these three weird words that go with Ayurvedic medicine? So what Ayurveda does, and it's so brilliant, is they take those five elements: ether, air, fire, water, earth. I keep repeating them on purpose. And they put them into three organizational categories. So ether, air, makes the letter V, is Vata, Vata. So the Vata dosha is dry, cold. light.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
cool. Yeah, yeah.
It takes fire and water and puts those into one category, which is called pitta. And it's not like it puts it in a category. It's like we see in nature how fire and water operate together, like a volcano, right? When it
Yeah.
explodes, heat is building, and then it can't sustain the pressure anymore from the heat, and it explodes, and it's a liquid lava
Yeah.
explosion, which would be like somebody who gets cystic acne or even oily
Oh,
hair,
yeah.
oily skin. The
Yeah.
heat eventually gives way to fluid.
Wow. Okay, cool.
And then the third dosha means that which most easily goes out of balance. So when all of you who are listening to this, you want to be thinking like, what's my tendency? Where do I tend to go? Like how Kristin and I, we carry jackets with us everywhere. We tend towards cold. We tend towards vata, and that's what makes it our predominance.
Right, right.
But the last one is called kapha, Kapha, and kapha is water and earth. Water and earth make mud. So there's the congested piece again,
Mhm.
just slow, thick, heavy, dense, mucusy. So do I need to bring it to a close in some way?
Probably. So when we're looking at like different issues with food, and
Yeah.
yeah, so how does it relate to each of the doshas?
Okay. Well, so thank you for helping me.
Totally.
Um, okay. So let's go back to the popcorn, tomato, banana.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
Okay. Popcorn is vata, cold, light, dry,
Right.
thin. There's nothing to it. Like you can't, I mean, you would not be a healthy person if you were trying to sustain your life on popcorn.
Right.
You would be constipated, dry, thirsty, hungry,
Yeah.
especially gassy. So, who should eat popcorn? I mean, this is like Ayurveda says, like, if you're already cold, light, dry, eating a food like popcorn that's cold, light, dry is going to make you feel more of what you already tend towards.
Okay.
And that becomes a pretty big imbalance. So when we
Yeah.
take somebody who already tends towards cold, light, dry, which emotionally is anxiety, fear, indecision, and we just keep feeding that person cold, light, dry. So this is vata people who are anorexic,
Mm.
vata people who tend towards bulimia or who go to bulimia. They keep emptying themselves out, but really they already tend towards emptiness.
Yeah.
They could help themselves ground and be in their body, which I know can be really hard at first, but this is the healing. The healing is to connect deeply with yourself and to have compassion and to just be like, I'm here, I'm present, I do love myself, I do care about myself. That's what makes me care about taking my power back. So someone who's cold, light, dry, what if they nourish themselves with soups and,
Mm.
sesame oil on top of their soup, or like some ghee, or, baked sweet potato that just helped them feel like really grounded, and it still gave them something sweet because vata craves sweet.
Mhm.
Often we're thirsty, but we crave sweet or salty when
Totally.
we're really thirsty, but salt and salty taste, when it's the right kind of salt, can help quench thirst, and sweet can really ground you.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is it can stabilize your base, so anxiety is less,
Yes,
fear is less,
totally.
indecision is less. Someone who's really so for the that vata person, what if they had the banana,
Right?
right? But banana is cold. It's a little bit cool, I should say.
Yeah.
So vata could eat that banana. Like, what if they sauteed it? Like, you ever had sauteed banana in just a little bit of ghee
Oh my
or
God.
organic butter with some cinnamon and nutmeg and cardamom, And you could even drizzle a little bit of maple syrup. And there's like this amazing, warm, grounding, filling dessert that you just feel amazing. You feel amazing because you took such good care of yourself, and you feel amazing because it tastes so good and was just so incredible and fun. This is why so many people with eating disorders go into the food and nutrition realm as professionals. Because once they learn how to cook for themselves and learn all these amazing, wonderful foods that taste so good, they're like, oh, I gotta tell everybody.
Totally.
Right?
It's amazing.
Yeah. And then Vata could also be the one who enjoys that heirloom organic tomato with some really good quality, like Celtic sea salt, some sumac, or which is my favorite kind of sour, salty spice. If you don't know sumac and you're resonating with Vata, you've got to try that spice. It's so delicious, like on everything. I put it on everything. There's nothing I don't put it on except maybe yogurt.
Yeah.
But Pitta, who's fire and water, hot, spreading, oily, fiery.
Right.
When they eat that tomato, especially if they eat a lot or they do a lot of like cooked tomato sauce, they're going to start to feel acidic. And acidity can build in the body and create inflammation throughout the body. So, that person might start feeling really like blocked or thick. It could amp up like their feeling of anger, resentment, jealousy. What else? It could just overheat them. It could create joint pain, skin rashes. So for someone who's Pitta to back off of acidic foods, even though I know they love them, anything that's like super strong in flavor, salty, chocolatey, spicy, Pittas tend to love it. But if they just tempered that with like cucumbers in their water or fresh mint leaves chopped up and put like fresh on top of their food all the time, right? It livens up their food. It makes it much more like fresh and green and interesting, but it also adds a cooling nature. So it's alkaline to all the acidity. And Pitta tends to crave, like I said, Pitta tends to crave salty. And so where they can get that salty is like lots of zucchini, so Pitta could be the one who makes the most amazing gluten-free zucchini bread, or it doesn't even have to be gluten-free.
Yeah.
Because someone who's really hot, they're going to be able to break down the kapha nature or the dense nature of gluten better than any other dosha.
Cool. Yeah.
And sweet is another taste that's very balancing for Pitta. So, one thing I did when I was recovering from my eating disorder, this was the number one thing I did. And this was way before I knew Ayurveda. I had such a sweet tooth, and it was literally, I just craved sweet every day, almost all day, every day.
Yeah.
But it was also, it's an emotional comfort. Sweet is comfort.
Totally.
So what I decided was, you know what? When I really I want to be healthy. At that point, I really wanted to be healthy. So I had a rule where every other meal could be sweet. So I did alternate between savory and sweet.
Cool.
And when it was time for my sweet meal, if what I really wanted was cake and ice cream, then that's what I let myself have. And what I did was, because if that's all I'm having and I'm truly hungry, I digested it. And I wasn't like overly full and then hating myself after I overate or binged eat. Like that's when we really hate ourselves. At least it's when I did. And all like, now what do I do with all this?
Yeah.
Throw it up.
Yeah.
Keep it out.
Yeah.
Exercise it out.
Yep.
So that was such an effective rule. And that's actually what I learned later, Ayurvedic, because if you put your two hands together, your hands are going to be the size for you of the correct, like, I don't want to say correct, but this amount of food for your body is like the perfect amount of food for your body at one sitting.
Oh.
So if I want to eat this much cake and ice cream, sure, it will be calorie dense. In Ayurveda, we don't count calories. I don't teach people. I'm like, no, we don't. If you want to work with me, that's not how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
It's about how you feel, and it's about your ability to digest what you eat. So when you portion size, like just smart, just the size of my hands, and you can round it a little bit. You don't want to do like cone head shape.
Right. Like, see, it fits.
Yeah, right.
Sound.
I'm going out to dinner in 2 hours with my boyfriend, but I'm starving now. Do one hand.
Yes.
And do something that you digest pretty easily, right? So going into kapha, kapha who's thick, wet, dense, heavy,
right?
They're going to be the slowest to metabolize anything. So the heavier the meal, the slower they're going to metabolize that meal and be hungry for their next one. Yeah. So when kapha is getting ready for their date, and their date is 2 hours away, they'd be the smartest to fill up that one hand with something like, steamed vegetables and rice, or some quinoa with olive oil and flax seeds. Yeah. Something just really simple. But if they did ice cream or something really heavy, even a few bananas, they might not be hungry 2 hours from then. Yeah. And so, learning Ayurveda also helps you know it helps you to really know yourself and what works for you. And so when you have that, it's like your ability to navigate through the world in terms of food, which is all day, every day, is so empowered.
I love this. I mean, first of all, I've never the hands, right, as the amount of food. I've never heard that before. I love that.
Yeah.
Like, how easy does that have to be? Like, how much should I eat? Well, there you go. Look at your hands.
Yeah. Buy a bowl that is, I have like a few bowls that I'm like, okay, I know exactly how much food to put into the bowl when I've matched it up to what works for my body.
Yeah, so
it's kind of like the size of your stomach.
Yeah.
You want to just honor it.
Right.
Like what fits while still leaving enough room for a little air and water and, enough room for your body to compost what you gave it.
Right, right.
Otherwise, you're going to belch it. You're going to fart it out. You're going to be bloated or fatigued. I mean, there's lots of factors at play, but it's a start.
Totally.
Go ahead. What else did you love?
Yes, I know. I also loved how, just how you described it in terms of like, let's look at individual food items and the different characteristics of that and how that relates to your dosha and the different elements of that. And it's like anyone can see that, like, a banana is dense. And that's a very different thing from the popcorn, from the tomato. And what I'm getting is that once you know your dosha and can sort of like see what's going on for you, you can know then what foods, like having those foods will create imbalance. And then you can choose other foods that will like work with your body type. And so it's like if you give one recipe to 3 different people, depending on their dosha, it'll do 3 different things for that person.
Exactly. That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. Which is just so incredible to, again, look at yourself as an individual and not like what's the thing out there that like people are saying to do, because your body will respond differently. Based on what's happening in your body.
Yeah. And when your intention is to take your power back, that means that you really get to be the one who knows what's right for you. You are this is basic stuff, but when you're in a space of you have been giving away your power, to hear these kinds of messages, at least for me,
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, thank you for reminding me
Yes.
that this is my life and my body, and that I do get to value myself. And so when you learn how to really listen to your body, to me, this is like just so empowering. I almost never, ever overeat anymore. It is, I mean, it happens so rarely. I can't even remember. I truly can't remember the last time that I did.
Wow.
Yesterday I was wearing a jacket, and I said to my boyfriend, I'm like, I've had this jacket for 20 years. It's like a little fitted jean jacket. And he was like, what? I mean, I wasn't saying it to be like, and I'm the same size, but I'm thinking of it now because it's like, wow, like I, I am still wearing the same jacket that I was wearing in my 20s, only now it fits it better.
Yeah.
I mean, and as I'm aging, right, like we all are, it is amazing to kind of be like, wow, I really know how to navigate through all these changes that I'm going through. I'm not menopausal by any means. I'm not even perimenopausal yet, but certainly I'm going in that direction. And my body has changed a lot over just the last 6 years. And so just to have the elemental consciousness inside of my body to navigate is really powerful.
Absolutely. And I totally see how empowering it is to know yourself and your body, and then what foods take you out of balance and what foods bring you into balance, because then, when you can make empowered choices.
Yeah. And let's define balance.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Balance is you feel good. That's when you're balanced. You're balanced when you're like, I feel good. I feel healthy. I have energy. I feel vibrant. I like myself. I like the choices I'm making. That's balance.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, tell us how we can take the next step. You have a free gift.
I have a free gift. So, okay, so I've made, and I did this especially for all of you. I'm really excited to have made this. So I have a little cheat sheet for you. That's your free gift. So I'm going through again the hot, cold, wet, dry, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. So you have a nice little chart that you can refer to be like, where would I fit in? And then for each one of those doshas, I have a simple solution. One that is a drink, one that is a food / like a simple meal, and one that is like a comforting practice. So like a body care, a body love practice that you can do that's really specific for that elemental constitution. So you can play with it. There's no wrong way to practice Ayurveda in the beginning, especially because you're just experimenting. You're making, you're like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that I'm hot. I think from what Talya said, I run hot. So I'm going to do the things that she said here on this simple solution sheet. But if you do them for a few days and you're like, I don't feel any different. Maybe I'm not only hot. Maybe I am also wet. Then you can try the ones on the wet, and then you could even combine them.
Cool.
Like it's an arena where you can play until you find something that just feels really nourishing to you.
I love that. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you for the education of Ayurveda. I understand it in a way that I just had not before. So that's super valuable. And for this free gift, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Awesome. Well, thank all of you for being here too. Make sure you grab that free gift. I love how you put it together with a beverage, with a food, and then with a self-care item, because that is all different ways that we nourish ourselves and our body is what we put in, and then how we treat ourselves. So that is perfect. That is a beautiful gift. So thank you again. And thank all of you for being here. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.